Welcome back to Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Alaina Pinto. It's time to check your history books about the Woodstock Music and Arts Festival in upstate New York that took place on Max Yasgur's farm in 1969 over a 3-day period. Well, did you know the town where that festival was held? If you said Woodstock, New York, you're wrong. It was supposed to be held in that town, but had to be moved to Yasgur's farm in Bethel, New York. Now, Woodstock, New York is in the news because that town is allowing a dispensary to open up in an old Burger King site. A Missouri-based operation called Travis will be opening at that location, but the only downside is they have to close the drive-through. No. Successful dispensary operations are starting to move on and merge or acquire other existing dispensaries or getting new licenses in new states. Case in point is Planet 13 in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Tina Tasaka has more in her Nevada Cannabis report.
I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies, and this is the Nevada and Tribal Nations report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Planet 13 Holdings has announced the acquisition of a 3,100 square foot dispensary in Las Vegas from Exhale Brands Nevada LLC. This deal includes both cannabis and non-cannabis inventory, along with a medical and recreational license. The total purchase price is $6.9 million, plus the value of the cannabis inventory, with $4 million in cash and the remaining $2.9 million via promissory note. The transaction will finalize once regulatory approvals are obtained. Co-CEO Bob Grossbeck highlighted that the new dispensary, located at 4310 West Flamingo Road, will enhance their market presence and operational efficiency in Nevada. Tribal nations are expanding their role in the cannabis industry in Minnesota. Two Ojibwe nations, White Earth and Bois Fort, are opening dispensaries, with White Earth planning a location off-reservation in Moorhead. Zach Wilson, CEO of Wabigwan Meshkiki, noted that compact negotiations with the state are ongoing but not finalized. Bois Fort entered the market with its brand Ishkode, Ojibwe for fire, will open a dispensary near the Fortune Bay Resort Casino this month. Minnesota has been negotiating cannabis compacts with all 11 tribal nations, but no timeline for completion has been set. That's it for the Nevada highlights and tribal nations. I'm Tina Tasaka with 420 Technologies and Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
Speaking of acquisitions in the cannabis space, Vangst Staffing has quickly become one of the top recruiting firms in the industry, and now they too are expanding into Arizona, where Karen Black has more.
I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting with the Arizona Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. First up, big moves in the local job market. Vangst, a major player in cannabis staffing, has just acquired Green Force's assets in Arizona as well as Michigan. The merger is set to create more opportunities for job seekers and businesses right here in the Grand Canyon State, potentially boosting our local cannabis economy. Now let's talk about a health concern that's hitting close to home. Dr. Libby Stite, a retired addiction psychiatrist, has raised some red flags about cannabis use among older adults in Arizona. She's noticed an uptick in cases of cannabis-induced psychosis, particularly in folks over 50. Dr. Stite warns that today's pot is much stronger than what many older Arizonans might remember from their youths, and it can pack quite a punch. She's calling for more research and better education on the potential risks, which could impact how we approach cannabis use and regulation in Arizona. On a lighter note, if you're in Phoenix, you might want to head over to Jars Cannabis. They're celebrating the grand opening of their new Arcadia location with a ribbon cutting ceremony. And they're also dishing out some sweet freebies. If you're up in the high country, maybe check out Earl Camp, a Riverside festival, September 20th through 22nd at Jackpot Ranch in beautiful Camp Verde. Lastly, Stacy Voigt, the owner of Peaceful Potions and THC, is working with Michael Dillon of Drops to bring her award-winning products to Arizona. She's holding a fundraiser September 28th, somewhere back east. Look her up on LinkedIn if you're interested in learning more or donating to the cause. Stacy Voigt, Voight, Peaceful Potions, and THC. That's all for the Arizona Cannabis Report. I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
One of the biggest barriers on legalization and acceptance of cannabis is the cry, "What about the kids?" Well, depending on what age you think defines being a kid, there have been a number of federal research studies taking a look at the 10-year pattern of teen use in legal states, and the exact opposite has occurred. This past week, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services released their findings of a national survey of young people ages 12 to 17. The question asked to them was, have you tried cannabis over the past year? Well, that figure has now fallen 18% from 2014 to 2023. The next question was, have you consumed cannabis over the past year? And once again, that number has declined, this time by 15%. So even though half of the adults in the United States have access to legal cannabis, their children are accepting that the product is designed for adults, and their curiosity has waned. Since there is now more scientific evidence of its effects on the adolescent brain, we're curious on what is going on in the state of Virginia, though, where they have a robust medical program. So here's Joe Parsons.
I'm Joe Parsons with the Virginia Cannabis Connection, and this is the Virginia Cannabis Report on Cannabis Coast to Coast News. As I reported in a previous report, Health Service Area 1, or HSA 1, has sat vacant for years since legal issues surrounding the MSO operator PharmaCann had their conditional license to operate suspended in Virginia due to not meeting license requirements set forth by the Virginia Board of Pharmacy, the agency that was tasked with setting up the medical system in the Commonwealth. Well, after millions of dollars invested by the then up-and-coming MSO fell through, a lengthy legal battle ensued that left HSA 1 empty and thousands of patients in the district without the plant medicine. Ultimately, PharmaCann merged with MedMen and with hopes to rebuild. But as we all know, MedMen filed for bankruptcy with over $411 million in unpaid debt. So that never happened. At the beginning of the year, the VCCA announced that it was time to get those patients in need another company to fill the void. By the end of the application process, over 40 applicants, some big MSOs and some small local companies, all threw in their $18,000 application fees and waited and hoped to see if it was worth the investment. The VCCA has confirmed the winner of that $720,000 question, the Florida MSO Air Wellness. They were chosen as the winner of the conditional license for HSA 1. Air Wellness will be known as Air Virginia in the Commonwealth and will have 6 locations allowed to operate. Now, as of this recording, the 6 locations have not been made known. However, Air has confirmed that it has its eyes on setting up shop in Clearbrook, Virginia, just north of Winchester. Now, I've reached out to Air Wellness to congratulate them, and I'll bring you all the updates all the way from now to the very first ribbon cutting ceremony. However, it is important to remember that the license is only a conditional license, and Air Virginia will only have 1 year to meet the conditions such as a background check, leases, and a base of operations that's in strong working order to make their temporary license a full pharmaceutical processor permit. Due to the size of HSA 1 and the fact that the University of Virginia and James Madison University are in this district, it's a challenge to get operations running. PharmaCann had similar issues in the conservative Central Virginia. Now, we can all hope that this new MSO player that has a presence in 8 states will be a breath of fresh air and have a successful run, bring something great to HSA 1. Well, that's going to do it for this week. From the Virginia Cannabis Connection and reporting from Cannabis Coast to Coast News, I'm Joe Parsons. Until next time, stay lifted.
One of the latest states to pave the way to open adult use sales is Delaware. Right now, it's legal to possess up to 1 ounce of weed without any hassles from law enforcement. The adult use market is still scheduled to open in the spring of next year, but now they have an issue with hemp and that part of the industry. MJ Biz Daily used secret shoppers to buy 30 intoxicating hemp products that are being sold legally in that state in gas stations and stores. They then brought those products to state-approved testing labs, and the results are alarming. 19 of those 30 products were being sold without labels. 83% were found to have more than the 0.3% THC that is the supposedly definition of hemp, and 63% had synthetic cannabinoids in them. 23% had contaminants that are deemed to be harmful, including psilocybin. Ohio is continuing to rack up legal sales to adults, and now after 1 month, that figure has reached $50 million, one of the highest first month of sales in history. Here's Christina Brisson with our Ohio Cannabis Report, now sponsored by Yellow Labs.
In Loveland, Ohio, Emily and Mark seek to deepen their bond through intimacy. They turn to Yellow Labs Rose Oil Massage Cream with delivery technology, promising enhanced pleasure and connection. The cream ignites increased sensitivity and arousal as they apply it, kindling a shared passion. Excited by its effects, they find joy in shared closeness and moments of unity.
I'm Christina Brisson, here with your weekly update for your Ohio Cannabis Report with Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Last week we talked about how $212,000 were imposed on multiple adult use recreational facilities. So let's take a minute to look and see why and what some of these stringent rules are. So in Indiana and Michigan, you're allowed to advertise on billboards, but not in Ohio. Additionally, in Ohio, we're not allowed to advertise on X, on Facebook, or Instagram. We're also not allowed to reference slang, very similar to how it was when we used to go into smoke shops. You cannot talk about getting high, rolling a joint, etc. None of these things are allowed in these current Ohio advertising rules. So Ohio, let me say first that I'm glad that you chose when to legalize marijuana. The first time it was on the ballot when I was here was very stringent. We were limited to very few distributors. The income and the growth and the sales is going to go to very few people. And then we waited for a better proposal and we said, yes, now this is it. Now what we're looking at, has the scrutiny gotten too much since it's become legalized in Ohio? Now, per the Dayton Daily News, we have the ACE Task Force, who has an annual marijuana eradication effort. We have a grower who had 8 plants, who was descended upon with 30 police officers, as well as helicopters, telling him it looked like 25 plants. 8 plants look like 25 plants? I have to give compliments to the grower. But the grower said, we need more rules. We need more information on what the rules are for being homegrown. What can we do from here? This is the kind of information I want to know and what I want to know if you want to know. Well, let's talk sales. 54 million in the first month that we've had legalized sales in the state of Ohio. 1.9 billion since medical was legalized in 2019. Ohio is there to support cannabis sales 100%. This is Christina Brisson with your Ohio Cannabis Report from Over the Top Renovations, brought to you live from actual campus of Ohio University.
The Ohio Cannabis Report is supported by Yellow Labs and BetterWaysToTHC.com. Search for Yellow Labs near me and find one of 40 dispensaries in Ohio carrying these amazing mists and creams.
Another state getting into the battle against Delta 8 products derived from hemp is New Jersey. While that market continues to expand, their governor, Phil Murphy, is banning the sale of cannabinoid-derived products from hemp. The other part of this bill, however, puts these products under the regulatory authority of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission, which is the same group that sets up its cannabis regulations. Wow, a single regulatory group that will set the rules for hemp and cannabis sativa, including testing and regulations. Maybe the federal government will see this and get a better idea on how best to control the fledgling cannabis market in this country. After all, it is the same plant. Well, here's more from New Jersey with Jill Goldsberry in her Garden State Cannabis Report.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jill here with We Talk News New Jersey, and I am coming to you with a story out of Hudson County, particularly out of Jersey City. We're nail deep into this story, and it really involves Mayor Bullock of Jersey City and his refusal to reinstate 5 officers who were terminated for off-duty legal cannabis use. And this has been an ongoing story that we've been following since 2023. What's happening now, the latest developments? Well, the city is now filing a finding. The city is now applying fines to Mayor Phillips' office for each day that the officers are not reinstated, and this is each day for each officer. So it's $100 per officer per day. That's a lot of money. In addition to this, their reinstatement was scheduled to be for August 25th. That was the deadline that was imposed. Mayor Phillip has refused to accommodate this deadline. So now the city of Jersey City is liable to pay these fees. And I don't know about you, but if you live in Hudson County, this is definitely a concern because guess who's going to be paying those fees? It's not going to be Mayor Phillip. It's going to be you, the tax holders, you, the residents of the area are going to be paying these fees because Mayor Phillip has refused to reinstate officers. He's literally discarding the law and taking the law into his own hands in the city. This is a concern because if you are a cannabis user and you are in law enforcement and you do live in New Jersey, you may be at risk of losing your job. Other mayors may follow suit. So this is definitely something that we are concerned about. That is the latest on that story. I will keep you posted. I'm Jill Goldsberry with the new We Talk News and soon to be called Coast to Coast. So watch out for that. Also, don't forget to download our app so you can get more news on the go. I'm Jill Goldsberry. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
That's the B block, but we have more coming up in our last section, including the Beard Brothers from California, who are spearheading a campaign to get a convicted nonviolent cannabis inmate out of jail after serving 27 of a 40-year sentence for sales of cannabis that was never in his possession. Edwin Rublice has the support of the Last Prisoner Project Cause.org, the 40 Tons brand, Freedom Grow, Jailed for Weed, and other advocacy groups. But the Beard Brothers are the most visible, and next week at the Hall of Flower show in California, the stage will be named the Free Edwin Rublice stage. We'll tell you how you can get involved after this break.
Thing that I have gone through is losing my family, losing my children, losing my ex-wife. And, I think that's what hurt the most. And specifically, and it's still hurting now because one of my sons, about to be 25 years old, is currently homeless. And he doesn't want anyone to help him because of his mental issues. And he's been jailed twice. And my hands are tied. There's nothing I can do. I cannot go out there and go look for him and try to help him. And the irony is that I know all these things that I've learned here behind prison walls, how to counsel people, how to mentor people, and I can't even mentor my son, which is how.
It's a whole new world of weed out there, isn't it? Everyone is learning new ways to titrate, ingest, consume, imbibe, and engage with this plant medicine we call cannabis. Now, let me tell you my cannabis story. I've had 4 major surgeries in the past 23 years and suffer from osteoarthritis with a variety of metal parts in my body and one on deck. Now, thanks to those chronic pain issues, I've been a medical patient in Massachusetts for almost 10 years now. I remember my first trip to a dispensary just outside of Boston, and I told the bud tender I didn't want to smoke it anymore. So I tried edibles, then tinctures, then vaping, and now if I'm going to smoke, I only use the Weedgets filtration system. What? The Weedgets.com, Weedgets, that's weed, W-E-E-D, G-E-T-S.com, is where you'll find the planet's coolest product that cools the smoke from everyone's favorite flower. The guy that started this was a pretty good medical device manufacturer, and he created this maze pipe that cools the smoking process from 1300 degrees Fahrenheit upon inflammation down to just 90 degrees when it reaches your mouth. That's right, 1300 down to 90. That's why this maze pipe is amazing. Now, Add in the code of PCMTV and you get 15% off. So just go to Weejits.com and check out the best way to enjoy a cooler smoke with less coughing and hacking and more peace of mind.
Ready to take your craft to the next level? Imagine faster extractions, purer products, and more profits. Sounds good, right? At Pure 5 Extraction, we've revolutionized cannabis extraction with our game-changing technology. No solvents, no heat, just the cleanest, most natural process on the market. Whether you're a boutique grower or a large-scale operation, Pure 5 has the tools to elevate your business worldwide. Visit pure5extraction.com today. Pure 5 Extraction, because your plants deserve the best.